Okay, so till it's going live. Am I audible, everyone? Am I audible, Hare Krishna?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. So I think I have successfully gone live. Right. Alright, so we'll just begin with a kirtan. This is Radha Krishna Kirtan. We'll do that quickly and start the class. Radha Krishna Pran Mora Yugal Kishore Radha Krishna Pran Mora Yugal Kishore Jivane Marane Gati Ar Nahi Mora Jivane Marane Gati Are nahi mora Radha Krishna Pran Mora Jugal Kishore Kalindir Kuli Keli Kadambir Bana Kalindir Kuli Keli Kadambir Bana Ratana Bedira Upar Bosa Bodhu Jana Ratana Bedira Upar Bosa Bodhu Jana Radha Krishna Pre Pran Mura Jugal Kishore Sham Gauri Ange Debo Chandanir Gandha Sham Gauri Ange Debo Chandanir Gandha Chamara Dulabo Kabe Heri Mukha Chandra Chamara Dulabo Kabe Heri Mukha Chandra Radha Krishna Pran Mora Jugal Kishore Radha Krishna Pran Mora Jugal Kishore Kathiya Malati Gathiya Malati Mala Debo Doha Gale Adhare Tuliya Debo Karpur Tambule Adhare Tuliya Debo Karpur Tambule Radha Krishna Pran Mora Jugal Kishore Lalita Vishakhadi Yat Sakhi Vrinda Lalita Vishakhadi Yat Sakhi Vrinda Agyaya Koribo Seva Charanaravindra Radha Krishna Prana Mura Yugal Kishore Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasiranu Das Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasiranu Das Seva Abhilasha Pure Narottam Das Seva Abhilasha Pure Narottam Das Radha Krishna Pran Mora Jugal Kishore Radha Krishna Pran Mora Jugal Kishore Okay, has it gone live stream yet? Yeah, I think it has not. Okay, Hare Krishna. Today we are into the most important part of the chapter 2. Actually, chapter 2 initially was fully talking about that we are not this body, we are the soul. So there was a lot of great analysis. Sankhya Yoga was going on in the beginning of chapter 2 after Arjuna submits. So I'm going to just quickly share the screen and let's move on to this chapter. Is my screen visible to all of you? Hare Krishna. Is the screen
Yes, ma'am.
visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Thank you so much. Right. So we are into the chapter 2, which is the contents of the entire Bhagavad Gita is summarized in this. And I pay my respectful obeisance to the beautiful deities of Sri Sri Radha Govinda Temple of Mangalore. And I would like to again pay my respectful obeisances to founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, and the temple president, His Grace Namnishtha Das Prabhu. I would like to also pay my humble obeisances and gratitude to Aishwarya Mataji, who is my Guru. Let's begin with the pranam mantra quickly. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagara Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadavetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padana Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Cha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधा राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे. So we have finished in chapter 1. We finished about the entire description of the setting of the scene. And by the end of the chapter, we saw the characters of Dhritarashtra as well as Duryodhana and Arjuna. We saw that Dhritarashtra is in the mode of ignorance, and although he is not just physically blind, he's also spiritually blind. We also saw that Duryodhana is in the mode of passion and he is extremely lusty and greedy for the kingdom, and he is the main cause, in fact, we could say, for the whole Mahabharata to take place. In fact, for the Mahabharata and therefore the Gita also, probably, if you look at it that way. And we have Arjuna, who is in the mode of compassion. Again, a major reason for the Gita to be given to us, because unless and until Arjuna would not have had this whole experience of losing his equanimity and going into extreme dejection, and and actually coming to the falling down to the material plane where he forgets his duty of a kshatriya, and he actually looks for a kind of material sense gratification, in the sense that he doesn't want to kill his relatives, and he is looking for what would actually give him joy. He says that I would not be happy if I fight, so he's looking at his personal joy rather than understanding his spiritual position as a servitor of the Lord and what is his duty. So, and it is that fallen state of Arjuna which was just a mere situation created by Krishna, because Arjuna is a highly elevated devotee. And so it is because of this entire situation that we saw in chapter 1 that we are gifted to have this Bhagavad Gita in front of us today, which is a life manual for all of us. In chapter 2, we have finished sections A, B, and C in the last class. Unfortunately, Friday I couldn't take a class because my computer had broken down. So instead of doing chapter 3, here we are finishing chapter 2. If it's possible, or any of the shorter chapters, I will try to make up for the loss of a day. And so today, and chapter 2, we began with Arjuna. Already he has expressed many of his doubts at the end of chapter 1. And he is now further expressing further doubts in his at the end of the verses, chapter 2.1 to 2.10. And in 2.7, we saw this beautiful verse, Karpanya dosho upahata svabhava prichami tvam dharma sammuda cheta yachreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyase hamshadimam tvam prapannam. So in this verse, we come to know Arjuna's, accepting Krishna as master, and there is a whole change in the entire chemistry, from being a friend and also kind of a master in the sense that Krishna is his charioteer. Here he bows down and he takes the position of a guru, of a student. And this exact emotion should be what we should all be in when we listen to the Gita, where we are surrendering to not just any ordinary person, but to the Supreme Lord Himself, to Bhagavan. And there is no other better person than to ask for guidance than to Bhagavan Swayam, right? For Krishna. So in 2.11 to 2.30, we come to know about the jnana, where Krishna speaks about fight. There is actually no death for the soul. So what we see in these verses is basically something called in the Vedic dictionary Nirukti, we have understood Sankhya philosophy. That is, it's basically an understanding of which is real. Is the soul real? Is the material world real? What is real? That whole analysis of what is real, because anything that is temporary is considered to be unreal, although it is there. It's not like it's not there. Material world is very much there, but everything in the material world is absolutely temporary. So the whole analysis of this is what we come to see in these analysis of the soul, understanding of the soul, detailed analysis we have seen. And I have already expressed to you that Arjuna's proposal not to fight was on the basis of sense gratification. He was forgetting his primary duty. And Krishna here is explaining that by killing his grandsire or his guru, he would not be killing the soul, basically. That's what he's trying to say, because everybody existed in the past also. We are simply changing our body. It's just like changing dresses. When your dress is like old, you just throw it away and get a new one. So we keep our individuality even after liberation. That is a very important point which Srila Prabhupada goes on emphasizing, because people who are still, in that Maya, actually they are very much caught up in Maya when they think that they are, that they are the Lord Himself. So when they don't understand that they are this small spirit soul, and they keep lording over the world, they are still they are still very much fit to continue being in this material world. So they keep being in this bondage of this material dress. So here there is a very important mention that this Sankhya philosophy, which is being explained in chapter 2, is not the Sankhya which was given by an imposter Kapila. So there is an imposter Kapila somewhere. I have not read about his work, but there is clear repeated mention by Srila Prabhupada that this Kapila has given an atheistic presentation of the Sankhya philosophy, which is not at all what Bhagavad Gita Krishna will ever talk about. It's just not possible for him to talk about an atheistic philosophy. And so this philosophy which of Sankhya which is being expressed by Lord Krishna here, is the one which is given by the real Kapila of Srimad Bhagavatam. So there is a whole, Kapila Gita. And that in that Sankhya philosophy is what we are looking at in these verses 2.11 to 2.30. And it is actually the Sankhya Yoga. It is also to be understood as very much similar to Buddhi Yoga. In fact, it is ultimately Buddhi Yoga. So in one of the lectures, Srila Prabhupada says that having a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Buddhi Yoga, or which is Bhakti Yoga also, is not something which wise people would do. So Buddhi Yoga is like a transcendental quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. And it is done in full bliss and knowledge of devotional service for the satisfaction of the Lord. So in Buddhi Yoga, however difficult the work may be, however tedious the work that you do is, you will be in transcendental bliss. There is much difference actually in the outwardly, a person who is struggling hard for material sense gratification and is working so hard for fruitive results, maybe for his family's happiness, or for his wife, or for his children, or some people for their father, or for their mother, or for the nation. But all that comes under working for material happiness. Only when you're working purely for Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, that is when the work that you do is completely transcendental. And however tedious, in which case, with full enthusiasm you're working, and it is appearing tedious, just like the other person who is working for material sense gratification. But then it is to be understood that this is for liberation, and so no extraneous endeavors are needed to acquire knowledge for such a person, because Krishna will give the knowledge as soon as you are in the state of bhakti. So in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, we have seen Krishna saying, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. So Krishna says that if somebody, is giving completely with his love, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. With, a lot of love and faith, he is doing service, like patram pushpam phalam toyam. He is giving his, even simple giving of one patram, one pushpam, one phalam, but he's doing it with a lot of faith. Then what happens is dadami buddhi yogam tam. Then Krishna will give you the intelligence you require. That's why devotees are very, very intelligent. So if we look at the let's look at the verse 2.39 from where we are beginning. So today we will be doing 2.39 to 2.53, which is basically about Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma, which is actually same as Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga, where ultimately Krishna says fight, but without any reaction. So we'll see this very famous shloka, Karmaneva Adhikaraste, in this section. And thereafter we have the 2.54 to 2.72, where we'll be looking at the how to become a Sthita Prajna. So the word Sthita Prajna is very, very important. For example, there is an anecdote about how Gandhiji's favorite verses were 2.54 to 2.72, because he was always striving to be a Sthita Prajna, and whenever he would feel that he is losing his equanimity, he would just pick up one of these verses and read. So now this is just a revision of the characteristics of the soul. There are so many detailed characteristics of the soul. Yes, Shriman Nakka, would you want to say something? I can see you're on unmute. Anybody would like to share? You're please welcome to please share, or questions we can have at the end though, if possible. So we are now in 2.31 to 2.38 was Karma Kanda, which we have already done, where Krishna explains why, in terms of material things, like he will try to explain that you will lose your prestige, your material prestige, people will laugh at you, and all those things, mostly in the angle of Karma Kanda that we saw. Actually, we have finished these 2.31. Did I forget? Okay, I think we should start from 2.39. This is just a revision of what I think we have finished 2.37, 2.38, he says. And now we are at 2.39. Right. So let's look at this verse 2.39 together. It says, Esha te vihita sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shruno buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So in this verse, Krishna says, thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Just like I told you, it was all about the Sankhya philosophy. Now he says, okay, now I'm going to explain to you in terms of working without fruitive results, which is Buddhi Yoga, which is also Karma Yoga, which is also Krishna consciousness. So he says, oh son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. And this is what he will be explaining in detail now. So in 2.39, let's just look at the word karma bandham, the last word, buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So in the word karma bandham, what do we see? The word karma bandham is basically pointing out to when you're acting something karma, right? There is a reaction. It's like a what do you call it? That playing thing, it just comes back to you. It's like that. Whatever you do, the reaction, it comes back to you. I forget the name of that thing. Right. So we can understand easily that whenever you're doing something, a good act, you will be getting some good result, and if you do a bad act, you get a bad result. So in the 16th chapter, we had seen pravrittim cha nivrittim cha na vidurasura jana. Those were asuras. They do not know what kind of action should be done and what should not be done. So here we can, so that's what we're seeing is that at least for a human being, he should not act whimsically. So once you're getting a human body, you need to be acting you need to be acting with more understanding that you are not this body, you are the spirit soul. So esha te abhita sankhya means so far the body is concerned. Now buddhi yoga tva imam shrunu. So now you listen to me explaining the buddhi yoga. Um, so the relationship that we have understood so far is between the soul and the body. So far the understanding is the difference between soul and the body. And now we are going to expand ourselves and zoom out a little and understand the connection between this soul and the super soul. So that is where we are now, understanding that the super soul is like our father, the father of the entire universe, the cause of all causes, the origin of everything. And that is the shift. That is a huge shift now from this verse onwards in what Krishna is going to be talking about. So basically, what he's going to say is that Tesham, yeah. So go to the next verse in 2.40. In 2.40, what Krishna says is, uh, 2.40 says, Neha bhikramanaşosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So this is a very wonderful verse which says that in this endeavor, there is absolutely no loss or no diminution. A little advancement on this path itself can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear, which is the fear of death itself. So in 2.40, even in 1.1, even like it says that even 1% of work done in Krishna consciousness can give you permanent results. In the material world, only without, if you don't do 100% of what is to be done to get the result, you won't be awarded any credit. For example, if you say I have attended classes the whole year, or if you say I have been taking notes and you show all your notes, there is no credit. But the unique quality of Krishna consciousness is that even now, today, you're sitting even for the first few minutes of this class, or you're just listening and spending time to understand Krishna. That itself is given a lot of credit. It's carried forward for always, and it has got permanent benefit. So even according to the Christian philosophy, it says, what profiteth the man if he gains the whole world yet suffers the loss of his eternal soul? So there is no use of a person to get so many material gains. Material world, even if you get so much, it's of no use if he is not understood that his soul is eternal and what is his duty, what is his constitutional position. So let's look at this very nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam in this context in 1.5.17. There is this verse. त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरेर् भजन्न पक्वोऽथ पतेत तो यदि यत्र क्व वा भद्रवपूदमुष्य किं को वार्थ आप्तो भनतां स्वधर्मतः. So it says that having forsaken one's own occupational engagement, if one is giving all his entire self to the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service, even if it is immature faith or devotion, and even if it is unfavorable or sarcastically done, then what interest does he obtain? The non-devotee has nothing to obtain. He doesn't obtain that kind of a result. So one who gives himself to devotional service, the result that he gets is nothing compared to what material in the material world, whatever you can gain. So that is what this is talking about. So we have seen that in this is given an answer to the sin. This actually entire verse is an answer to the question which Krishna asks, in which Arjuna says that that if I do something, if I'm going to fight and kill all my guru and everyone, it's going to be sin. So whatever you do, if it is in the service of the Lord, it doesn't become sin. So you must have seen these in the level 1 also. For example, Hanuman has burned down the whole city of Lanka. That would be the real material sense. It would be a huge crime. He has burnt up a whole city. But then when he's doing it from the service of Ram, with Ram in his heart, the moment you have the Lord in your heart and you're doing it in devotional service, then it becomes purified. Like here in this picture, we can see Vibhishan. He has actually betrayed his own brother, and he has come and he has revealed secrets, and he has taken the side of Ram. And so it might be considered, a cheating. You're being disloyal to your own brother. But then when it is for the Lord, then there is absolutely no question of any sin. So, for example, this little, this mouse is mistaking this fire to be a fruit, and he's going towards the fire, and the fire is you get burnt in the fire, but then in the process you're actually getting purified. So, any deed that you're doing for the Lord, you are actually getting yourself purified, and there is no sin in that. So that is what Krishna answers that question very nicely in that verse. So in 2.41 we can look at this verse. It says, Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kuru nandana bahushakaya nantasha buddhayo vyavasayinam. So here we are continuing on the Buddhi, understanding the Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. Whereas the intelligence of those who are irresolute, it will be many branch. So you can see in this material world, right? People will credit those who are doing multitasking. Whereas, it's clearly said that if you have just one purpose, which is Krishna consciousness, and always keep Krishna in your mind, whatever you're doing, then your aim is basically one, and it's your aim is therefore the power of what you're doing doesn't get divided. Those who are irresolute in the path of devotion, there are many branched, and so they will never be able to do something in the same quality as one who is in pure Krishna consciousness. So strong faith elevates one to the highest perfection of life, which is Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita 22.62, there is an understanding about faith. The unflinching trust is something sublime. Faith is basically unflinching trust, and it is something which is sublime, it's not material. And one who is firm in knowledge. So Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Su Durlabha. Why is he so firm in his faith? Because he knows that Vasudeva Sarvamiti. He knows that everything is Vasudeva. And he knows that if Krishna is therefore satisfied, everything is satisfied. So the verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela is Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrudha Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Kama Krita Haya. So Krishna consciousness, however, is best done under a master. So, for example, talking about the master, you all must be now being in level 2, definitely attending the Mangalarti. So, in which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the Mangalarti verses says, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadat na gati kutopi. Dhyayam svam tasya yashastra sandhya vande guru shri charana. So here what we can see is that Krishna is, so we can see that Vishwanath Thakur is talking about the importance of the Guru in this verse 2.41. He says that you need to actually understand Krishna consciousness, you need to take up a Guru. So that's what is being described in this 2.41. So moving on to 2.42 and 43. यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चितः वेदवादरताः पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः कामात्मानः स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदां क्रियाविशेषबहुलां भोगैश्वर्यगतिं प्रति. So this verse says that men of small knowledge, they are very much attached to flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. And being desirous of self-gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So in 2.42 and 43, basically, fools or men of less intelligence, right? And in fact, almost all of us come under this category. We are all kind of fools. Why? Because due to our ignorance, we are continuously getting attached. However much we talk all these things, and when we, as soon as we are in the material world, we get attached to fruitive activities. And therefore, it's just like fools who are attached to the flowers of a poisonous tree without knowing the results of such attraction. Unenlightened men, similarly, they get attracted to the heavenly opulence and sense and gratification, and they are, therefore, they constantly think they are striving in different ways to satisfy their material senses. So, as you know, we also have transcendental senses. So, even when the soul comes out of the body, it has senses. It can see, hear. It has transcendental senses. But those transcendental senses, we are not paying attention to. We are giving all our attention to these temporary material sense gratification. And so then that's why it is said that we are behaving like fools who are coming in the sway of the Vedas, and we are keep getting very attracted to somebody who has got good birth power, wealth, nice powers, good children, and all that. So in this context, again, I'm repeating the beautiful verse which comes in Shikshamrit: na dhanam na janam na sundari. So this is a very powerful verse. The whole Shishashram is so powerful. Every time when we feel that we are falling, we can quickly come back and say, no, this is not what we really want. Because, those who are desiring anything related to material sense can never, ever progress in spiritual life, because these two cannot exist together. The spiritual life and material attachment, they cannot exist together at all. So 2.44 says, Bhogeshwarya prasaktana pahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadho na vidhiyate. In the minds of those, or just as I just said just now, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyments and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to Supreme Lord does not take place. So this we have to be very clear. We can't say, oh, I still have a little bit of desire. I have a little bit of, I want this, just that. So even that we have to give up if we want to really take up devotional service, and the reward is immense. What is the reward? No more birth and death. No, you're going to actually achieve the goal of this human birth, which is self-realization and divinity, realization of divinity, realization of a constitutional position. So this is a very, very crucial understanding, that we cannot have these two things together. I think whenever, please look at the chat. Whenever somebody puts in the attendance, please put in your attendance, because last class I was told that many of you, there were about 15-20 of you last class. How many this class? But the attendance, everybody, many people had not put the, today also we have 15, but many people last class had not put the attendance. So please make sure that whenever you see a chat and the attendance is put, kindly fill the attendance. So let's move on to 2.45. This is a very important verse, 2.45. It's going to talk about how all material activities are involving action and reaction in the modes of material nature, meant for fruitive results, and they are the cause of bondage in the material world. If you look at 2.45, the three Vedas are actually mainly dealing with the subject of the three modes of material nature. So Krishna, what is he saying? He's telling Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. And the biggest symptom that we are in the three modes is that we will be suffering from dualities. We will be having, we will be looking at something we like, something we don't like. We're attracted to something, we are, raga, dvesha. All these we will be affecting us very badly when we are under Maya. So if we have to be free from all dualities and all anxieties for our gain and safety, and we have to be established in the self. So that is what 2.45 has explained. Now coming to 2.46, yavanartha udapane sarvatah sampluto todake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanata. So in 2.46 and 47, in fact, the purpose of Vedas is given according to 15.15. The whole Vedas are actually has only one purpose. It is to understand Krishna, and which is what most people don't understand. Ravi Prabhu, thank you so much for posting the attendance. I request all of you to just, while you're listening, kindly please mark your attendance, because to move on to level 3, or to move on directly to Bhakti Shastri, if you are doing chanting 16, you will have to have the attendance of your level 2. So in 15.15, Krishna is telling us that, the purpose of the whole Vedas is to know Krishna. If you remember the verse from level 1, it says, Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedesha sarvairahameva vedyo vedanta krid veda videva chaham. So Krishna is seated in everyone's heart. And from Krishna, our remembrance, forgetfulness, everything is coming. And the whole Vedas are actually Krishna himself. Krishna is a person who is a compiler of the Vedas, and he is also the knower of of the Vedas. In 15.7, Krishna says, Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha Manah Shashtani Indriyani Prakritisthani Karshati. So he says that, Krishna says, the living entities are Krishna's eternal fragmental parts. And due to conditional life, we are struggling very hard with the six senses, including the mind. And the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7 also confirms this same thing. So in this verse, we can see अहो बत श्वपचोतो गरीयान् यज्जिह्वाग्रे वर्तते नाम तुभ्यं ते पुस्तपस्ते जुहुवुः सस्नुरार्य ब्रह्मानुचूर्णां गृह्णन्ति ये ते. So it says, oh, how glorious are those whose tongues are chanting your holy names. Even if they're born in families of dog eaters, such persons are highly worshipable. So, aho but, oh, how glorious, shapacho, the person who's a dog eating. Gariyan, he's worshipable. Jihwa agre, at the tip of their tongue, Jihwa agre. Nama Tubhyam, your name is there. So, you don't have to be anything great. You just, whatever you are, you just chant the Lord's name, you become, worshipable. Tapaste, practice austerities. The person who is
And
the names of the Lord on his tongue is equal to one who has practiced severe austerities, who has executed fire sacrifices. Juhu Wuhu means somebody who has executed fire sacrifices, who has taken bath in the sacred rivers, who has studied the Vedas, and who has accepted and who has one who has accepted the holy name. It is understood that he has done all of these things. So the purpose of a small well can be served by the great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purpose of the Vedas can be understood simply by knowing what is the purpose behind them, which is Krishna consciousness, which is understanding Krishna, which is basically chanting for our generation, for our Kali Yuga. So the whole Vedas to study is very, very tough. But if you know the purpose of the whole Vedic culture is simply chanting the holy name, which is recommended by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of fallen souls, then you can understand very clearly that that you are not just a normal person. You are equal to somebody who has done all those different austerities, bathed in all the waters and all of those things. So let's move on to 2.47. 2.47 is a very famous verse, which I'm sure most of you must already know it thoroughly even before you were in level 1. It goes, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhur ma te sango swakarmanihi. Karmani. So it says clearly that you have a right to perform your duties, the prescribed duties. So there are three kinds of things which people may do. They may do the prescribed duties, which are the activities which are enjoined in terms of acquired modes of material nature. So whatever modes we have acquired, according to that we have taken birth in a different varnashrama, in a different varna, and we get different capabilities and abilities based on the different modes that we have been feeding in our previous births. And according to that, what is the duty that we're supposed to do? That is called prescribed duty. Whereas capricious work would be something that you will perform without any sanction of an authority, and which is not supposed to be done by you. And then there's a third category of duty of work, which is inaction. not performing one's prescribed duty. And that is totally, not prescribed, is totally undone. Krishna is clearly saying that you're not supposed to. Mate sangosva karmani. To akarmani. Akarmani means not doing your duty. Ma means no. Sango means attraction. So don't ever be attracted to the idea of not doing your prescribed duty. So there are many people who, when they come into Krishna consciousness, they enjoy so much, or they like the whole idea so much, and they think that okay, sannyas is the best thing for me, but that would be going in an unripe state. When a mango is unripe, you forcefully pluck it and you make it ripe. It won't be nice unless if it ripens, on the tree. So it will be very sweet unless you are in the right stage, or by itself the path will come when there is no need for you to do any material activities. But till then, the prescribed duties need to be done. In the only difference is it should be done with no desire for the fruits, and it should be done in complete dedication of everything to Lord Krishna. So Arjuna is now asked to do basically this very thing. He's been asked to do his prescribed duty, but remember, you're not entitled to the fruits. Don't consider yourself to be the cause of any result which comes, be it good, be it bad. Don't consider yourself. This keeps coming in again and again in several chapters. Krishna tells us that don't think you are the doer, and he says that never be attached to not doing your duty. So this is really important in this verse 2.40. In 2.47, this verse is really important. Now coming to 2.48, right. So 2.48 is Yogasthaha Kuru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya Siddhya Siddhyoh Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Right. So in 2.48, Krishna is talking about perform your duty equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success or failure, and such equanimity is what is called yoga. So why should we strive to do for yoga? It is basically to get rid of the fruitive results, to get rid of the good and bad reactions, and to become free and go back to Godhead. And why are we not able to do that? It's only because of ignorance. We are victims of our own actions and reactions, and birth after birth after birth, we are constantly struggling with the bondage of this, actions. So Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness so that it is purified and there are no more resultant. There's no more resultant fruits that you have to undergo, either good or bad. So for that, you need to be equipoised. That's the reason he says that you need to be equipoised. You need to abandon attachment to success or failure. So we had seen that Arjuna was like, oh, if I succeed this, oh, if I fail this. That's why Krishna is clearly telling him, no, no, there's no need for you to think of success or failure. You have to simply concentrate your mind upon Krishna by controlling your ever disturbing senses. What is yoga? You cannot be in yoga unless you control your senses. And how can you control your senses? By engaging them in the service of the Lord. And who is the Lord? The Lord is Bhagavan. Krishna himself is the Lord. He is Krishna. Actually is not a word which is sectarian at all. The word Krishna means Akarshana Viti Krishna. He is basically Supreme Lord. It's not only for the Hindus. He is a Supreme Lord. And in Krishna consciousness, you have to give up all sense of proprietorship, and you have to become a servant of Krishna, or a servant of the servant of Krishna, or a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. So this is what pleases Krishna. And when you are doing that, you're actually doing what you are meant to do. That is your true dharma. And then automatically all these things of being in equanimity, of controlling control over your senses, all these things become very, very smooth and easy. It won't become a burden at all. In 2.49, what we can see is Krishna says, this is a very beautiful verse. I like this one. It says, Dure na hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddho sharanaman vicha kripanaha phalahetavaha. So it says, Durena, keep very far away from you all abominable activities. So actually, one who knows his constitutional position as an eternal servitor, he gains the qualities, qualitatively he becomes like Krishna, not quantitatively. Qualitatively he becomes like Krishna. So he is in a Satchidanand state, right? And so what happens is, in that consciousness he will be able to in that consciousness he will be able to dedicate everything, surrender everything unto the Lord. And those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are called misers. So in this verse again there's a very nice word, kripana. It says, Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddho sharanam kripana phala hetavah. So who is a kripana basically? So it is, basically misers are ones who desire to enjoy the fruit of their own work. Why is that? Why is that so? One who is not utilizing this human birth, which is meant for perfection and liberation, is called a kripana or a miser. In the material world, who are misers? Misers are people who don't know how to utilize the assets or the riches that they get. Some of them may be very rich because of some good fortune, maybe because of some pious activities of their previous birth, they got some good fortune, or they have worked very hard and they are saving and saving and increasing their bank balance. Such a person is called a miser. He doesn't know how to utilize all those wealth. Similarly, now after so many births of, hardships of birth and death and birth and death and all those painful situations of going through birth, death, old age, disease, birth, death, old age, disease, and all those three kinds of kleshas, where we have, what are the three kinds of kleshas? By self, by others, and by the divine things. So these three are going through all these. Now at last we have won this human life, and what do they do? They don't even use it for the right purpose. That's why they are called kripanas or misers. So those who want to simply be stupid and enjoy the fruits of their work are misers, because they are wasting their human life. That's why this verse is really nice. It's very beautiful, worth learning. So moving on to 2.50, we can see in 2.50, बुद्धि युक्तो जहाति उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम. So in 2.50, as I have already said, Krishna is saying that a man who's engaged in devotional service, he rids himself of good and bad reactions. And that is the reason Krishna is saying that you should strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So moving on to 2.51. In 2.51, we can see, so 2.50, why should we get rid? Yeah, like I told you, it's for getting rid of the and why is it that we keep on getting attracted to doing the good things and bad things and getting the results and going in this whole cycle? It is because of ignorance or avidya. So I've just made a note of this point and I thought I'll share it with you. And that's why Krishna says you need to perform your things in terms of Krishna. Be Krishna conscious so that you don't have any more results to bear. Now coming to 2.51. Here we can see how the great sages have already attained the spiritual world. How? Because they have freed themselves from the results of work in the material world. How? Simply by chanting, by being in Krishna consciousness, understanding their constitutional position, not having any sense of proprietorship, not having any desire to lord over the material world in any way, then he becomes absolutely already in the spiritual world, even in this body. So, in this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death. They have realized the purpose of the human birth and they attain the state which is beyond all miseries, which is when they actually go back to Godhead, where Krishna is literally calling all of us to go back. He's literally saying, "Come, come," and such liberated living beings, therefore, they stay in this place which is absolutely without miseries. So I would like to just quickly say this beautiful verse from 10.14.58 in relation to this verse 2.51, which is actually the last verse of Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. So I think this is also there in 2.51 in the book as well. I think so. Yes, it is also there. It's very nice. It's a beautiful verse, 10.14.58. It is worth learning. You can note it down and learn it up. It says, समाश्रिता ये पदपल्लवप्लवम् महत्पदं पुण्ययशो मुरारेः भवां बुधिर्वत्सपदं परं पदं 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 यद्विपदान तेषाम्. The translation is so beautiful. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord. So Samashrita, one who has taken shelter of. Pada Pallava, Plavam. Pada Pallava, the lotus feet, like the buds of a flower, so beautiful. Krishna's lotus feet, where we need to keep ourselves there all the time. It's like the boat for the person who wants to cross over the material world. And who is Krishna, who is a shelter of the whole cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda. And he is the giver of mukti. He is the ocean, for him, for a person who has understood and accepted the lotus feet of the Lord, for him, the entire ocean of the material world becomes like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. That is, suppose not even a cow has got bigger hooves. A calf, like a baby cow, is walking in, say, a little bit sticky mud, and he's leaving little holes with his little footprint. And inside that, rainwater has filled the whole ocean of material existence, which is so seemingly difficult to cross. For a devotee who has surrendered himself full time at the lotus feet of the Lord and understood his constitutional position, the whole ocean becomes as tiny as the calf's hoof print filled with water, and he can easily cross over. So what is said here? Param Padam, are the place where there are no material miseries or Vaikuntha. That is his goal. And this material world where there is danger in every step is not his goal, because he has already understood very clearly, where Krishna said that this world is a dukhalayam. And so, most people, they don't know that this material world is a miserable place. They just refuse to hear about it itself. And so they are in ignorance or avidya. One who knows his constitutional position, he engages himself constantly in transcendental loving service, and he becomes qualified to enter the Vaikuntha planet. So, karma yoga or buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga is what we have been discussing. We are coming to the end of these sessions. When we reach verse 2.53, coming to 2.52, it says, Yada te moha kaliram buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. So in 2.52, when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you will become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is yet to be heard. So once you become a great devotee, basically all these rites and rituals to get this, to get that, to get, artha, kama, artha, moksha, all these steps which you get, all that becomes meaningless. There's no need for him to strive for all that. And then we have the next verse, 2.53, in this state, you're not disturbed by this Vedas and their fruitive activities. Don't disturb you or attract you at all. Become fixed in the trance of self-realization, and such a person attains divine consciousness. He's not deviated at all, and that is a beautiful state of samadhi. So that is basically the beautiful state of samadhi. Once more, Ravi Prabhu has posted the attendance. If anybody has forgotten to check your attendance, okay, there are 5 minutes. I am only at 2.53. The whole Sita Pragya verses are left. So once a person is in Samadhi, it is the highest goal of human life. So in 2.53, we are coming to know about how a person who has achieved Krishna consciousness comes to the highest state of being in Samadhi, where he has realized all the three stages, which is the Brahman stage, Paramatma stage, and the Bhagavan stage. All three. And he is no more disturbed. His mind is fixed. He will attain divine consciousness. So coming to now, we're beginning with the Sita Prajna verses. 5 benefits of acting in Buddhi Yoga. We have seen that there are no more bad and good reactions. And then we have seen that you have freedom from cycle of birth and death. Because of that, you become indifferent to Vedic rituals. You have realized your relationship of Krishna and servitor, and so you become in Samadhi. And then in the end, by 2.72, we will see that such a person will basically go back to Godhead. And now the Sita Prajna verses begin. I'll have to race through this a little. Maybe tomorrow, after finishing chapter 3, first half, I can quickly revise these verses. So in Sita Prajna, Krishna is basically saying how to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. Arjuna is asking a question first. Sita Prajna se ka bhasha samadhi sasya keshava sita dhi kim prabhashita Kim asita vrajeta kim. So he's asking a detailed question. I want to know, like you have said that person in samadhi, all that sounds so attractive. I want to know what are the symptoms of such a person who is in this consciousness, who is thus merged in transcendence. How does he speak? How is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? So all these things are very beautifully explained, and these verses are worth learning. In 2.55, he will speak about the first symptom of a realized soul, which is, so he'll be talking about the symptoms. Then in 2.56 to 57, Krishna will go on to explain how the Sita Prajna will speak, what are the words he will use, how does he speak. And thereafter in 2.58 all the way to 63, he will talk about how such a person will be sitting. And then in 2.64 to 72, it ends with how such a person will be walking. So let's look at what are the symptoms of such a person. So we can see, we know that there is no way we can try. So actually, we should be very humble when we are as a devotee. And we must understand that we are no way qualified to even think of becoming a Sita Prajna right now. Because, people like Srila Prabhupada and, all these great devotees who are, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who have come before Srila Prabhupada, they are only qualified to come under the category of a Sthita Prajna. So we can only, try and take inspiration, but there is no way we are eligible to think of reaching that state anywhere now. But we need to understand what are the symptoms of such a person, how does he react to others. Like Srila Prabhupada, we find example of Srila Prabhupada's life. If any of you have led the Leelamrit of Srila Prabhupada, you will be able to find examples, ample examples, that he is absolutely a Sthita Prajna with no doubt at all. So in 2.55, basically Krishna is saying, 2.55, he says, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manugatan Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha Sita Prajnastadochate. So in 2.55, he says, the Blessed Lord says, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of sense desires, and which arises from mental concoction, and when his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone, that is said to be pure transcendental consciousness. So the first principle or the first sign of a self-realized soul is that he does not make any plan for prosperity. I'll do this, then I'll save so much, then I'll increase my prosperity, then I'll buy this many shares. He stops making any plans for material prosperity. Of course, we're not saying don't make money. Great devotees are mostly very rich because they use all their wealth in the service of the Lord. They're no more bothered about material sense gratification because they understood that this is the ultimate goal that they need to achieve in this birth, is to realize that what is your position and go back to Godhead. So what happens to people who are in the material consciousness? They are continuously making plans. Okay, now this. Okay, then after this, then I'm going to do this. And so what happens is that he simply depends. Only when you become self-realized, you will start dovetailing yourself with supreme consciousness. And it's a very elevated stage when you, and it's not easy to come to that high stage. It's just like an apprentice. In the beginning, we have to take a guru. We have to, very slowly, in a guided way, only we can reach that high state. It's like an apprentice. When a person is an apprentice, he will first take all the plans of work from his superior. He will first learn. When he gets accustomed, then he will get elevated, and then he will seek that channel. And so the channel is called, you will find it in parampara. Where do you find this channel through which you get it? It's only through a disciplinic succession. So this is really important to understand. And we can see another person who is Sthita Prajna is, of course, Prahlad Maharaj. He, his father Hiranyakashipu tries every single way to kill him, but then he is absolutely Sthita Prajna, totally he is totally in bliss. He is totally all the time in Krishna consciousness. So this was 2.55 for you. Now moving on to, so those are the symptoms. Srila Prabhupada is in the mode of, is in Krishna consciousness. He is the Sita Prajna, perfect example. And one in 2.56, we can see that one who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger. Such a person is said to be in complete Krishna is he's having a steady mind. So I'm moving a little fast since we are time is up. We'll do a little bit detail, maybe cover up certain concepts in the next class. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, he is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. So his speech will be like that. And he has withdrawn his senses. How does he withdraw his senses? He withdraws his senses because he engages them in Krishna consciousness. Is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. And such a person, such an embodied self, he will restrict his sense enjoyment, the taste of senses. The taste will remain. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, that's what I just said. Only then will he be able to be fixed in consciousness. Otherwise, it's very easily a person will fall down. So, what are the symptoms of a Siddha Prajna? How does he sit? He will withdraw his senses from sense objects. So, in 2.59, what do we see? The embodied soul, restricted from sense enjoyments, his taste for sense enjoyment remains. He develops a higher taste, and then he automatically loses the taste for the lower, sense gratification, and then he becomes fixed in consciousness. So, how does he sit? The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they will forcibly carry away the mind of a man who has a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So even if a person is man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them, still the senses are so strong that they can forcibly carry him away. So here we can see that the senses are very strong, they are very forceful, they can forcibly carry away the mind. And we can see sage Durvasa, he is, in spite of being a sage, he is envious of Ambarish Maharaj, who is great and who is, a great devotee. And he's doing all his functions as a king. At the same time, he's all the time in Krishna consciousness. The story of Ambarish will take more time. We'll surely come across it, and you must have already heard it, but it's so beautiful to listen to it and say it again and again. Sage Vishwamitra gets carried away. He also falls down. And so, if your mind is, however, engaged in Krishna service like Ambarish Maharaj, then the sense gratification becomes distasteful. You really lose taste for anything which is material, and then your mind becomes very easily controlled, just like Maharaj Ambarish and Yamunacharya. And then we can look at these verses again. How does he sit? A person with Sita Prajna, how does he sit? He restrains his senses, keeping them in control, fixes his consciousness on Krishna, and he is therefore known as a person in steady consciousness. A man of steady intelligence will restrain his senses, keep them under control by engaging them in Krishna's service. He is fixing them, his consciousness in Krishna, and this it burns up all the impurities of his heart. The Paramatma in his heart will burn up all the impurities. These are one of my favorite verses. Dhayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangeseshu Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodho Bhijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sanmoha Sanmohat Smriti Vibhramaha Smriti Bhranshad Buddhi Nasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. These two verses are extremely beautiful. Even psychologists spend time understanding this. The only reason that a person falls, it begins with contemplation on objects of senses. And then he will automatically develop desire, attachment for them. Attachment will result in lust, will cause anger. Anger will cause delusion. Delusion will cause bewilderment of memory, and then your intelligence will be lost and you will fall down into the material pool. So therefore, the most important thing we need to remember is we need to stop ourselves from getting attracted to material objects in the first place, because you know that this is a cycle of fall. It's going to lead us to the fall for sure. So, a Sthita Prajna, how does he walk? He's free from all attachment and aversion, and he's able to control his senses through the regulative principles, and he is got the complete mercy of the Lord. And one who is satisfied with Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries will no longer exist for him. He's so satisfied, his intelligence is very well established, and he's not connect. One who is not connected, however, can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no peace. And so we come across this beautiful peace formula. As a boat on water is swept by a strong wind, senses even one of the senses can carry away a man's intelligence. They are so powerful. Therefore, one whose senses are restrained from the objects is certainly of steady intelligence. So here we can see the living entity. In 67, we saw that even if he focuses on one of the senses, right? Suppose you don't have control over your tongue, over your taste, or any one of the senses, then it'll carry away the person's intelligence, and he will not be able to focus. Whereas a person whose senses are restrained, he will usually take the help of a bona fide spiritual master, and then he becomes a sadhaka, a candidate for liberation. He will have control from the object of senses, and he will develop steady intelligence. So senses engaged in in service of the Lord is the only way to control your senses. And this is a very important verse. Person can take a whole class only for this verse. What is night for all beings is a time of awakening for a self-control. The time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So what is, all these spiritual things that we are discussing, for a person who's in the material sense, it's all like night for him. And person who is in the material world, the things which he is attracted to, that is night for the introspective sage. He's not interested in them at all. That is the one of the ways of understanding how a Sita Prajna will look at the world. So the living entities, there are two classes: material activities for sense gratification. Those who are after, their activities are based on material gratification, whereas the introspective sage, he will be working only for spiritual advancement, and so the activities for the material gratification is like night for him, and he's not disturbed by any of the demands of his senses, because he's already engaging them completely in Krishna consciousness, and he's in complete bliss. So person is not disturbed by the flow of rivers. Actually, it's not like desires will stop coming. They will keep on coming. They will keep on, this is like rivers flow into the ocean, but he will not get disturbed. Who has given up all desires for sense gratification, he has no sense of proprietorship, and therefore he attains real peace. So this is what is really important. With that, we come to the end of this chapter. We have come to the last verse, which is 2.71 and then 2.72. So 2.71, this is 2.71, I think, right? Yeah. No, we have reached 2.72. Sorry, last verse. So it says, Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati Sthitatvasyamantakalepi Brahma Nirvana Vrichati. So that is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one will straight away enter the Lord's abode. So we can see that within, Krishna, there was one beautiful question which somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, can I, at the time of death, to enter kingdom of God and to actually go back to Godhead? Is it possible in one birth, or do I have to go on taking millions of births? So the answer that Srila Prabhupada gives is you can actually get it in 1 second. It's only a matter of understanding what the Bhagavad Gita is telling us about Krishna consciousness and accepting. So Srila Prabhupada says that if you just understand and accept, that's it. You are ready to enter the kingdom of God. So according to Buddha, it says that after death there is void. But according to Bhagavad Gita, it teaches us that there is, spiritual world to aspire for. Otherwise, we'll be simply going back into the material world. So material world, all activities are done only for sense gratification, just revising the main point. And the spiritual world, all activities are already in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person who is already given all his activities to Krishna, he is already in the spiritual world, right? He has understood that he is Brahman, he is soul, he is not matter. So Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you so much. I think with that, we have come to the end of chapter 2. We have understood Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti. We have understood Sita Prajna, although we had to race a bit. Thank you very much for joining me. And is there anybody who would like to share something? Hare Krishna. Please join me tomorrow for chapter 3. We will be doing chapter 3 tomorrow. And please stay in association all the time. Please read constantly. I hope the Bhakti Vriksha is happening very actively. And please mark your attendance. The attendance has been posted many times. Hare Krishna. So we come. Shall I end the class, or anybody who would like to say something? Vancha kalpataru vyasya kripa sindhubhyo evacha patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna
Nice
Mataji.
class Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Mataji.
Thank you Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare. Have a Krishna conscious day.